Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Intan Safinas Muhammad Arif Al-Bakri, and I'm going to talk about writing a research proposal. So you have now enrolled in your Masters or PhD program, and you have to submit a research proposal for your proposal defense. So what you need to do is you need to prepare a written plan for your study, and then you submit for your proposal defense, and it will be evaluated by a committee of evaluators. What you need to show in your research proposal is you have to show a structured presentation of your research that you would like to carry out and how meaningful it is. So in order to develop a good research proposal, you have to have these three major sections which are presented in the form of chapters. You have to have introduction, literature review, and methodology. So chapter 1 will be introduction, chapter 2 literature review, chapter 3 methodology. So what about deciding on a topic for your research? So first of all, you need to decide on your topic. So what you need to do is you need to find relevant topic. The topic has to be related to the area of your study. For example, your area of study is English language teaching and learning. So you find a topic relevant to this area. All right. And then it has to be current. It has to address current issues, because if you choose a topic which is not current, it will not get cited and there will be nothing new about your study. Apart from that, when you decide a good topic, you look at past studies. If there is very little literature about your study, the study that you want to embark on, then you should find something which is more which has more literature, so that it can build up your study. All right, so remember, relevant to your context of your area of expertise is current issues, and there's enough literature related to that topic. So how do you decide on a topic? First, you may want to ask your supervisor. Your supervisor may give you a broad topic, a broad suggestion of a topic, all right? A suggestion of a topic. So, for instance, I've given an example that teaching of vocabulary. That's very broad. So what you need to do is you need to narrow it down. So a suggestion to narrow that particular broad topic is using online games to teach vocabulary. So it's being narrowed to online games. Alright, so other than that, you can do a lot of reading, exploratory reading. You read theses, previous theses, books, recent journal articles and review articles, so that you can see, oh, this is the current issue, so I'm going to focus on this. Alright, besides that, you can talk to your friends or lecturers and ask for suggestions. Alright, so now, first of all, you know what topic you're going to focus on. Now you need to have a specific title. Alright. For instance, we're going to work on our writing a research proposal today by using this title, the effects of explicit vocabulary teaching on ESL students' vocabulary learning. So we have a title here, and if we look at that title, you can see it's very specific. The words are familiar. Maybe explicit is not familiar to you. That will be defined. All right. So specific, familiar, not too long, not more than 15 words, and then the correct word order so that no misunderstanding happens, and it's very much reflecting the focus of the research. Right. So when you write your title, it has to be about the focus of your research. The focus will be the issues that you want to address. So definitely from this title, you can see that it will be about explicit vocabulary teaching and to address the issue in terms of vocabulary learning. So remember, I talked about the three chapters just now: introduction, literature review, and methodology. So the first chapter is on to introduce the topic. All right. So in chapter 1, the introduction chapter, you have background of the study, statement of the problem, research objectives, research questions, significance of the study, limitations of the study, and operational definition. So the background of the study is whereby you give an overview of the area under your study, what you want to study. It's from the way you write it is from broad perspective, you narrow it to the focus, and finally to the central problem. So I have an example here based on again the topic that we have highlighted just now, the effects of explicit vocabulary teaching on ESL students' vocabulary learning. So if we're going to write the background of the study, we start first broad by talking about the Malaysian ESL secondary teaching context, and we zoom into writing. We talk about writing. Writing has been one of the skills that receive attention. This is still broad, all right? Now we narrow it down. We talk about the issue. There's poor performance in writing, and one of the reasons why there is poor performance in writing is because learners lack vocabulary knowledge. So we have zoomed in, we have narrowed it down. Now we're moving towards the central problem. So we talk about how teaching of vocabulary is not being emphasized in writing classes. Alright, and the current practice of vocabulary learning is by asking students to identify unfamiliar words by referring to a reading text. So this is the issue. So you can see from broad, talking about writing, to narrow, poor performance in writing, and the central problem, which is the poor performance is because they have lack of vocabulary, and the issue is about the teaching of vocabulary that is not being emphasized, and the techniques used to teach, or the strategies used to teach writing. Right? So that's the background of the study. Now the statement of the problem. Now that you have highlighted the issue just now, now you elaborate on the issue under statement of the problem. You describe the issue that currently exists. You talk about why this study need to be conducted, the gap in the literature, and then you back up your description of the issues with evidence from the literature, all right, and then you relate it later on to your research questions and research aims. Okay, next, research objectives and research questions. The research objectives are the aims of your research. What are the aims of your research? And each research objective will address a research question. Usually people will have two or three research objectives and 2 or 3 research questions. So, for example, right, the effects of explicit vocabulary teaching on ESL students' vocabulary learning. We have one research objective, the first one. This research aimed to investigate the effectiveness of using explicit method to learn vocabulary for Form 1 students. So the research objective here, you just reformulate it to become a question. Alright, it's the same content, but it becomes a question under research question. So how when we change it to a question, it becomes how effective is the use of the explicit method to learn vocabulary for Form 1 students. Alright, so it's aligned. The research objective is in the form of a statement. The research question is in the form of a question, but it's referring to the same thing. It's similar to the second research objective, to explore Form 1 students' preferences of the explicit methods techniques used to learn vocabulary. So you change it to a question. Which techniques of the explicit method to learn vocabulary are preferred by the Form 1 students? Right? Okay, so that is the research objectives and the research questions. So now, significance of the study. This is to address the question, why is your study important and to whom it will be important. So when you write your significance of the study, you can identify who will benefit from this research. For example, all right, teachers can implement the use of explicit vocabulary teaching methods, or curriculum developers can also include the explicit learning of target words. So that's why this research is significant. Next, limitations of the study. Here you highlight potential weaknesses of the study. For example, because this study is conducted within limited time, for example, only within 3 months, so the limited focus in terms of time span is one of the limitations, because you will not get very accurate findings because of the time span, the limited time span, or the number of participants is small, so it's another limitation. So it doesn't represent the whole group of Form 1 students, right? Okay, finally, operational definition. Here, you define all the key terms that you have in your title or in your research questions. For example, in the context of this research, we have the word explicit vocabulary instruction. So that is one of the keywords in this the research that the title that I've given to you just now. So that has to be defined, this title. So what you need to do, you have to have two different definitions. The first definition is the definition from the literature. This one, for example, okay, the one by according to Graves, all right? This is the literature definition on explicit vocabulary instruction. So it refers to a direct systematic approach in the teaching of vocabulary, for example. And next, you have to have a definition which is an operational definitions in the context of your study. So in the context of this study, explicit vocabulary instruction refers to 10 carefully selected vocabulary lessons of various techniques to help learners learn the target words. Right? So it's specific to this particular research. Okay, now chapter 2. Chapter 2 is the literature review. In chapter 2, you write a summary of various research findings and methods used. This is from past literature. You highlight all the studies that have been conducted related to your the study that you want to focus on. So the structure will be something like this. So the sections should include introduction, theories related to the study, theoretical or conceptual framework, and other related studies. So this is an example of subheadings that can be included in under this title. Alright, so we have introduction, theories related to the study, theoretical framework, teaching vocabulary explicitly, various techniques in explicit method of vocabulary instruction, and the rest until summary. Don't forget to summarize every single chapter. Alright, okay, next, the last one, chapter 3, methodology. So under this chapter, you have to show the readers how you plan to tackle your research problem. You have to describe the activities necessary for the completion of your study and how you will carry out your research and the methods that you are going to use. So this section involves several subheadings. You begin with an introduction, research design, population, sampling procedure, instrumentation, data collection procedures, data analysis method, reliability and validity, ethical considerations, and summary. All right. So for research design, you have to tell the audience, the readers, whether you're going to use qualitative, quantitative, mixed method, and then you have to tell the readers, if you're going to use qualitative, why, if you're going to use quantitative, why, and then you have to summarize your design in the form of a diagram for easy reference. You have in your design, you in your research design, this diagram you have, okay, qualitative. So what am I going to use for qualitative? Interview. How many people I will interview? All right. So that's the research design. Sampling procedures. You have to describe your sampling methods. Are you going to use purposive sampling, convenient sampling? Which one? All right. And how do you select your samples? And what are their characteristics and attributes? Next, instrumentation. You have to outline all the instruments that you want to use. All right. And then you have to address the reliability and validity of these instruments. Apart from that, you have a subheading on data collection procedures. You have to describe step by step how you propose to collect your research data and how you plan to analyze your data. All right. So you need to specify everything related to how you plan to analyze your data. All right. Whether if it's quantitative data, how do you analyze it? Qualitative data, how do you analyze it? All right. Okay, basically there are 3 chapters related to your proposal. Chapter 1, introduction, chapter 2, literature review, and chapter 3, methodology. So I hope this the presentation has given you some idea on how to write your research proposal. Thank you for listening.